you see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obadala. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles, and you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obadala Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Thursday, May 2nd. We are here live for the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obadala, hoping to be your MBFF. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of things going on, my friends. But we need some humor. Stephen Colbert took some shots at the Bill Barr debacle. And it's remarkable when you think about it for a second, though. The people Trump has surrounded himself with. It's like the opposite of the Avengers. It's like the worst of the worst people all brought together. It's like the anti-Avengers. They don't fight for truth and justice. They fight for lies and Trump. It's unreal. So here was Colbert, though, having some fun. Here's first Colbert on Bill Barr. And we're going to talk about this a lot more. Not revealing to Congress this letter from Robert Mueller. So let's hear clip number 1, please.
He released that 4-page memo trying to sell his spin that Mueller gave Trump complete and total exoneration. But then we read the report and, surprise, realized on further analysis, no, he didn't. And last night, here's the big thing. The Washington Post reported that 3 days after Barr's 4-page summary, Mueller wrote Barr a letter complaining that Barr did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of Mueller's work. Context, nature, and substance. That is everything. That's like saying, I really like you did with this, car, except the wheels, the engine, and the car.
And then Colbert played a great clip of Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii. And listen to the crowd react when she goes after Barr and at the same time destroys Trump. All in a few seconds. She crushes them both. I love it. Here's clip number 2.
After lunch, Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono took her whacks at this piñata of perjury.
Mr. Barr, now the American people know that you are no different from Rudy Giuliani or Kellyanne Conway or any of the other people who sacrificed their once decent reputation for the grifter and liar who sits in the Oval Office.
Madam, how dare you imply that Kellyanne Conway ever had a decent reputation? Wrong!
We needed some humor because yesterday was surreal watching what was going on with Bill Barr. And now I had some time, as along with the rest of the country and yourselves, to digest what we saw yesterday because we came on air a short time after it ended. I played a lot of clips. We had a great discussion about it. But now I want to take more time to talk about what we saw and where we went today. Because now with Speaker Pelosi has really been very clear today on crimes were committed. And we'll get to that in a second. And when I say crimes were committed, she doesn't mean Bill Barr yesterday, who is being evasive, who is saying, I don't remember things that any normal human being would remember, that he sided with Trump every time, argued for Trump like a personal lawyer, not like an attorney general. It wasn't about that. It's about this letter with Mueller. And I think the media is missing part of this right now. And I'm not quite sure why. I'm always bewildered when the media doesn't catch on things that I think are pretty clear. But sometimes maybe it's clear to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Could be either way. But here's the part we do know. March 24th, Bill Barr releases the 4-page letter. Everyone knows that. In that, he's his summaries, and essentially he exonerates Trump, even though he quotes one line from the report of Robert Mueller saying there's no exoneration. But he was exonerating him. That's really what it's about. Media goes crazy. 3 days later, Robert Mueller writes a letter. A letter, folks. He writes a letter. He didn't call Bill Barr. It was so concerning what he was seeing going on in the media, the reports about what Barr had written, and clearly what Barr had written troubled him. They didn't do like, hey, can we chat? I text you. He knows the guy for 30 years. He wrote a letter. And in that letter on March 27th, what Bill Barr admits he received on March 28th, the letter says what Stephen Colbert was just talking about. It says the summary letter the Department of Justice sent to Congress in the afternoon of March 24th did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusions, adding, there is now public confusion about critical aspects of the results of our investigation. This threatens to undermine our central purpose for which the department appointed this special counsel. And going on making a suggestion at this point. Robert Mueller, there's a letter he signed saying it would alleviate the misunderstandings that have arisen if Barr at that point would release the executive summaries and the introductions to his report. So America could see actually things that Robert Mueller wrote and his team, not what Bill Barr wrote. We found out that meeting happened. They got the letter March 28th, and Bill Barr calls him up. And here we learned from Senator Richard Blumenthal yesterday from Connecticut exactly the conversation on the speakerphone in Bill Barr's office. And listen to how, even now, a month later, how annoyed that Bill Barr was that Robert Mueller put this in writing. I mean, even reveals this as like an honest, candid moment here. And so let's hear clip number 3. No, the clip number, Richard Blumenthal. So clip number 3, yes.
Who said what to whom?
I said, Bob, what's with the letter? Why don't you just pick up the phone and call me if there's an issue? And he said that they were concerned about the way the media was playing this and felt that it was important to get out the summaries, which they felt would put their work in proper context and avoid some of the confusion that was emerging.
So you've got Bill Barr attacking the media there, saying Robert Mueller was talking about the media, which is funny because you'll hear Senator Blumenthal in a second. There's nothing in the Robert Mueller letter to Bill Barr about media. It's about him. It's about what he had done. That your letter did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusions. There's nothing in that letter saying, the media is going crazy with this. I don't know what they're doing. The fake news media. They're the enemy of the people. No, none of that. So Bill Barr's lying again. In fact, here's Senator Blumenthal calling him out on that, as a good lawyer himself. And also, listen to Bill Barr now call the letters snitty. And so you've got Bill Barr going, hey, Mueller, why didn't you call me? It's weird you've got a letter, because now there's a paper trail. And Barr doesn't like that. So let's hear clip number 4.
There's nothing in Robert Mueller's letter to you about the press. His complaint to you is about your characterization of the report. Correct?
Well, the letter speaks for itself.
It does. And in fact, in response to your question, why not just pick up the phone? This letter was an extraordinary act. A career prosecutor rebuking the Attorney General of the United States, memorializing it in writing, right? I know of no other instance of that happening. Do you?
I don't consider Bob at this stage a career prosecutor. He's had a career as a prosecutor.
Well, he's a very eminent prosecutor.
He was the head of the FBI for 12 years.
He's a career
He's had a
law enforcement
career, yeah.
professional.
Right.
Yeah. I know of no other instance of...
But he was also a political appointee, and he was a political appointee with me at the Department of Justice. The letter's a bit snitty, and I think it was probably written by one of his staff people.
And by the way, if you didn't catch on there, and I'm sure most of you did, when Blumenthal said he's a career prosecutor, and what consistently Barr does is deflect from the question. So the question, have you ever seen anyone like this do this? You actually have a special counsel sending a letter to the Attorney General going, what you've done does not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of our office's work. He goes, he doesn't respond to that. He goes, well, he's not really a career prosecutor. He did that time and time again. He did that like an evasive witness. He did that as if I was an attorney still practicing and I was deposing someone or cross-examining him. That would be the hallmark of an evasive witness who's lying, who's got something to hide. Then the idea that it's snitty. So you've got Barr in a minute and a half sharing with you how annoyed he was at this letter. He's like, Mueller, why didn't you just call me? Why'd you have to put this in writing? And secondly, the letter itself was snitty. He didn't like it, so it stung Bill Barr. Which meaning 2 weeks later, when Bill Barr is before the House of Representatives on April 8th, and Congressman Charlie Crist asks a simple question, and references at that time, there were media, to remind everyone, there were media reports days before that some on the Mueller team were not happy at all with Bill Barr's March 24th letter. So at this time, we don't know about the letter. Bill Barr knows about the letter. He literally had a conversation with Robert Mueller about the letter 2 weeks before. And here's Charlie Crist asking him point blank, and it's not antagonistic. He's trying to get to the bottom of it. This media reports that someone in the Mueller team told you they weren't happy with your summary. Listen very clearly. Here's clip number 5.
Reports have emerged recently, General, that members of the special counsel's team are frustrated at some level with the limited information included in your March 24th letter, that it does not adequately or accurately necessarily portray the report's findings. Do you know what they're referencing with that?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. No, you don't. Just 2 weeks ago, you had a conversation with Robert Mueller over a letter that annoyed you, that you called snitty. And no, you don't know what they're talking about? This is beyond the game. And here's the thing. We'll get into the question if this is a criminal act or not of perjury. It may be, may not be. It's hard to prove perjury beyond a reasonable doubt. But here's what the media is missing. The obvious question is, why did Bill Barr mislead that member of Congress? Because he clearly was hiding the truth, because he was not forthcoming. Because we know why. Because if on April 8th, 10 days before the Mueller report was ultimately revealed, if in that moment, Bill Barr testified, yes, I got a letter from Robert Mueller, and he said he did not fully my summary did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of his office's work, and he called for me to alleviate the misunderstandings by releasing more of the report. What do you think would have happened there? Oh my God, the Democrats' explosion, subpoena the next day for Robert Mueller. Would have been media, would have went crazy. And it would have destroyed the media narrative that Donald Trump and Bill Barr worked on. The one that protects Donald Trump. The one that gives you the false illusion that he's exonerated. Or even if he's not exonerated, a new poll came out today, about 35% of Americans think he's exonerated. They just get the sense it's not that bad what he did. They think he's a criminal, but again, in the new poll, less people want impeachment today than they wanted 2 weeks ago. And part of it is the work of Barr and Trump together. And here you go. Bill Barr then hid from us for 10 more days the report. And that time was out there with Trump and his surrogates going, it's not that bad. And when it comes out, it's so many pages. Lindsey Graham didn't even read the whole thing. Bill Barr didn't even read all the attachments to this report. That's by their own admissions yesterday. And Americans like, well, I guess it's not that bad. Just think for a second. On April 8th, on live television, under oath, Bill Barr asked that question by Charlie Crist. Did you hear anything from the Mueller team? And he goes, yes, I got a letter from Robert Mueller. Funny you ask. And he said he didn't think my report fully captured the nature, context, and substance of his conclusions. And he called them and he released more. And he actually called me on the phone. And he said that same thing. And I think the letter was kind of snitty. I didn't like it. I said, Bob, why'd you even write a letter about this? Just think for a moment how that would have played out. But Bill Barr misled Congress there. There's no doubt it was intentional. Folks, Pelosi point blank made the statement. And I like that. And I keep saying in the time of Trump, there's no place for moral ambiguity. You need moral clarity at all times. There's no games. You don't need subtlety when you're dealing with a regime. It's not an administration, the Trump regime, the most corrupt regime in our nation's history in modern day. And here's Nancy Pelosi on Bill Barr, point blank, clip number 6.
He lied to Congress. He lied to Congress. If anybody else did that, it would be considered a crime. Nobody is above the law, not that because you are the Attorney General. It just isn't true.
I'm applauding. I don't know if you can hear my applause. I'm applauding. He lied to Congress. It's a crime. Bill Barr lied to Congress. It's a crime. And period, full stop. Bill Barr lied to Congress. It's a crime. Can you prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? That's a different discussion. Did he lie to Congress? Yes, he had every reason to. His motivation was clear. Protecting Donald Trump in the narrative on April 8th. He did not want Congress to know he got a letter from Robert Mueller 2 weeks before and had a conversation with Robert Mueller 2 weeks before, objecting to his report as not fully capturing, quote, the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusion, and urging him immediately to release more. And Bill Barr said, I'm not releasing more. Nope, not going to do it, because that doesn't fulfill what's going on now. Nancy Pelosi asked, what will you do next? Here's the next question. Here's number 7.
There's a process involved here. And as I said, I'll say it again, and how many other questions you may have, the committee will act upon how we will proceed.
I like that answer less, but I like the first one a lot. And then here is Congressman Eric Swalwell a short time ago on MSNBC. He's on House Judiciary. He's running for president. And I love clarity. I like when people are very clear. There's no nuance in this, and I like what Swalwell says. Here's clip number 8.
I've given a lot of thought about what we've seen in the last few months with Attorney General Barr, and I've asked myself and my colleagues, what do you do when somebody prejudges the investigation before it even begins with the letter that he sent? What do you do when the Attorney General accuses the prior intelligence community of spying on the Trump administration? What do you do when the Attorney General mischaracterizes the report that Bob Mueller wrote? What do you do when he lies to Congress as he did to Mr. Crist? And what do you do when the Attorney General does not turn over the documents that Congress has subpoenaed and missed the deadline yesterday? I think there's only one thing left for us to do, and that's to commence impeachment proceedings against him.
Yes, yes, yes. And I wish Speaker Pelosi had said that, to be blunt with you. Now, you might ask, has any cabinet official in U.S. history ever been impeached? Great question. I looked it up. One. Going back a long time, though, 1876, for those of you playing at home, and you're like, I had that. I knew William Belknap, Secretary of War, was impeached. Well, he was impeached 1876. William W. Belknap, U.S. Secretary of War, before it was called Secretary of Defense, it was called Secretary of War. He was charged with criminal disregard for his office, accepting payments in exchange for making official appointments. Went to the Senate, though, because impeachment, as we all know, is just indictment. So he's charged in the House, goes to the Senate. He's not convicted by 2/3 of the Senate, so he's not removed. That is the only time a sitting cabinet official was ever impeached in the history of America, but it can easily happen. Just like we've had 2 presidents impeached. Can you charge Bill Barr with a crime? Yes, you can. The only person who has any arguable immunity when they're in office is the president. We've all gone through this. We've all learned so much in the last year and a half because of Trump's criminality. Here's the problem, though. Who's going to charge Bill Barr? You go to the Department of Justice for a federal crime. Bill Barr is the head of the DOJ. He's not going to charge himself. And he's not going to recuse himself to let someone else do it. So it's not going to happen. Not while he's head of the DOJ. He will not be criminally charged, but he could be impeached. And here's the debate that's happening now. Because yesterday we're talking about, I was saying, we impeach Trump and Barr. Maybe I was a little over the top. But right now, I'm going to be honest with you. And this is the debate I have, and I want to hear from you. Do you impeach Bill Barr on this lie to Congress? He misled Congress intentionally. He did that to protect the president. It is a cover-up. He's the cover-up attorney general. We've known that since William Safire wrote that in 1992 about the guy when he was covering up Iran-Contra. He's the cover-up guy. Do you impeach him? Does it take away then? Is it something Trump would love? Because look what they're doing to poor Bill Barr, but they're not impeaching me. So Americans go, well, I guess what Trump did is not as bad as Bill Barr. Meanwhile, what Trump did is far, far worse. Far worse. Or do you have to do it? Do you impeach Bill Barr? Do you impeach Donald Trump? I mean, new poll out today. Democrats, even Democrats, support for impeachment went from about 70% to about 62%. And among all Americans, it slid. And I think that's partly how the Barr cover-up is. It'll take Democrats to lead the charge to make the case to our fellow Americans why this guy Trump deserves to be impeached. If the framers of the Constitution, if their spirit came back today, they'd be like, we invented impeachment for this guy. I mean, this is why we thought of it. The corrupt guy taking emoluments or bribes from foreign governments and working with foreign governments. I mean, think about it. In the Constitution, they had the emoluments clause that you cannot take anything of value from a foreign government. Trump openly welcomed not only money, but data information from Russia and called for it. If they would hate this guy. But what do we do? What do you think we should do as progressives now? What would you recommend Democratic leadership do? Follow Swalwell? Impeachment of Barr? Or follow Pelosi, which is, and I love what she said today. He lied. It's a crime. Beautiful. Great stuff. That's the question. Where do we go now? What is next? What do we want? 866-997-4748. I'd love to hear from you. Tom Steyer is coming on the top of the hour. Mr. Impeachment himself. We're going to talk about, does he need a bigger impeachment boat? Now they got Barr and Trump in it. We'll get his take on it. So be right back, though. I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748 right here on The Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get dumber. Never has somebody said so much stupid in so little time.